Oh hey, it's Ray here. Since starting my channel, I've been getting lots of questions, but the one thing I've noticed that we all really have in common is that we're actually all really different. Specifically, we all have a difference in experience levels. Some of you have the basics down and you're looking into more advanced topics, while others are only just beginning and still needing to learn the fundamentals. So today, instead of talking about ways to secure a loan or how to improve credit, I've decided to start with the basics. What is a credit card? By now, most of you probably know what a credit card looks like. It actually looks very similar to a debit card, an ATM card, or even a charge card. But it's not actually any of those. It's in a category of its own. You see, credit cards are actually a descendant of charge cards. Most credit and finance historians generally agree that the first charge card was the Diners Club card. Created in 1950, the Diners Club card actually let you charge purchases at certain stores and restaurants to your charge card instead of paying with cash or by check. The catch of using a charge card was that the users had to pay back the total balance at the end of every month. No excuses. Nearly 10 years later, the world started seeing revolving credit cards, or what most people today would consider a modern credit card. This meant that with revolving credit cards, you no longer had to pay the total balance off at the end of every month. Instead, this meant that you could roll over your balance month to month indefinitely at a cost. Later, over the decades, issuers would actually introduce more and more features to improve their cards and stay competitive to make their cards more appealing to new and existing customers. A lot of these features are actually still around today, and some of them are really important, so let's talk about them. First, arguably the most important bonus feature of making purchases with a credit card is the fraud protection that it provides you. Due to the Fair Credit Billing Act of 1974, if fraudulent charges are made on your card by an unauthorized user, you are only responsible for paying $50 of those charges. Often though, issuers will take care of that $50 charge for you as a sign of goodwill, so you may pay nothing at all. Second, most cards have a credit limit. This is a predetermined dollar amount that issuers have assigned to your account. It is the maximum dollar amount you are allowed to spend on your credit card. If you try to go over this amount, you may have charges declined and you may receive penalty charges. Generally, your lender can increase or decrease your credit limit at any given time. So it's really important to be responsible and don't max out your credit cards. However, you can usually personally request a credit increase if you absolutely need to. Third, and I know I touched on this a little bit already, but credit cards allow you to carry a balance. This is a core feature of credit cards. Balance is the word that we use to describe how much money you owe on your credit card. Carrying a balance simply means that instead of paying your balance off every month, you let it roll over month to month for a fee. Be careful with this though. While carrying a balance can help you in the time of an emergency, it's generally a bad habit to be in and can cause you to end up spending much more money in the long run. Next is APR. APR stands for annual percentage rate. Okay, but annual percentage rate of what? As it turns out, the APR is a measurement of the total annual cost of your credit card. It's the interest you owe on the money you've borrowed, and it's usually shown as a percentage rate. So if you're carrying a $100 balance on your credit card and your APR is 24%, then over a period of 12 months, you will pay an extra $24 in addition to the $100 that you already borrowed. The $24 was the cost of borrowing the $100. The easiest way to find and estimate how much interest you might owe is to multiply your balance by your APR and then divide that number by 12 months. Exact calculations are a little more complicated, but that's a video for another time. 4, most credit card issuers offer a grace period. Grace periods are the period of time after your billing cycle has ended, but before your next payment due date. During this time, no interest is charged on your purchases. It is possible to stay in a grace period perpetually if you pay off your credit card every month and don't carry a balance. These grace periods can vary from issuer to issuer and from card to card. So you need to make sure you check your card's terms and conditions to be sure. 5, some cards have annual fees, but not all of them. Usually, you'll see cards with an annual fee if they have more benefits or rewards, or even higher tier benefits and rewards. Annual fees can range in price from, say, $50 to $700 or more. The sky's the limit on this one, really. You can still find many rewards cards without any annual fees at all. In fact, many times these are the best beginner credit cards. 6. Nowadays, most credit cards issued by major institutions offer some sort of rewards or benefits. These can vary from cashback cards to travel rewards and more. Generally, the lower the barrier to entry for a credit card, the less value the rewards offers will hold. Still, entry-level credit card rewards can be useful in an overall financial strategy. Okay, so now we've learned all about some of the important features of credit cards. How do you get one? Well, you have to apply. I'm actually old enough to remember when you had to fill out a paper form and snail mail your application into the credit card issuer. Today, though, many credit card issuers offer you the option to conveniently apply online. A lot of them offer near instantaneous decisions too. While it's not always the case, this does mean that it is possible to get approved for a credit card within minutes, as opposed to waiting 7 to 14 days like we used to. Some issuers can still take a week or two to make a decision, so don't be caught off guard if this happens to you. When filling out your application, you can expect to be asked to fill out personal information. This can include your name, address, social security number or tax identification number, and your gross annual income. Keep in mind that you are applying. It's not necessarily guaranteed that you will be accepted. People can and do get rejected. So you'll want to make sure that you have a fair to good or even excellent credit score. But don't let this deter you. If it turns out that you have little to no credit history, it may be worth it to start out with a secured credit card for the first 6 months or so, maybe even a year. I also just wanted to add in a little bit of a side note here. Please know that you should probably not apply to multiple credit cards at the same time. In general, it's really only a good idea to apply to maybe 2 or 3 credit cards spread out through an entire year. Because if you were to keep applying to more and more credit cards, this would actually negatively affect your credit score and cause it to go down. If an issuer sees that you've applied to more than 1 credit card at a time, the application that you turned in that might have originally been accepted could be considered too high risk, and then you would actually be rejected instead. So if there are so many options for credit cards out there, you may be wondering how to find the best one that's the right fit for you. Well, truthfully, you have options. Many card issuers will actually send out marketing letters via snail mail. Some of those letters might say pre-approved, but it's important to remember that pre-approval is not the same thing as being approved. So you may as well want to spend that little bit of extra time trying to find that card that's more tailored to your needs. While you can certainly opt for one of those cards that are in the mailers, you can also start a search online. One of my favorite sites to search for credit cards is NerdWallet. And no, this isn't a sponsored ad. I just genuinely like them, and I've personally used them to assist in my search for new credit cards over the years. On occasion, credit card information or promotional information on this site can become outdated, although it really doesn't happen too often. Another option is to go directly to different card issuers' websites. Some of the biggest institutions offer applications to a variety of different credit cards directly on their website. These include, but are not limited to, issuers like Discover, Chase, and Capital One. A final option is to check with your local small bank or credit union. These places usually offer at least 1 or 2 credit cards as well. Now, before you pull the trigger on any one credit card, just remember to really thoroughly research all of your options. Really compare all of your options before you decide what's best for you. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you found this video helpful at all, or if you've learned anything new today, then go ahead and give this video a like. If you would like to hear me talk a little bit more about credit and finance in general, then subscribe to my channel. I look forward to sharing more great information with you. Until then, I will see you next time.